Right, shall I talk or not?
Oh yes, please do.
KH750, it's got a horrible noise when it's running. I'll explain a bit more about that in a minute, but first of all, if anybody out there knows how to make the petrol tap seal on one of these, let me know, because it's shit. You have no off position on the petrol tap, right? That's reserve, that is on. Clearly there's no petrol in it because it was all over there on the floor.
Okay.
This is a vacuum pump which pulses your fuel. There's a little diaphragm in there which is brand new. There's a little thing that goes in with an O-ring on it, a little plunger that should seal it. That's all brand new, and it was fine for quite a while, and then it just poured the whole tank all over the floor.
Oh.
Clearly it means that there's something wrong with your needles in the float bowls, because it shouldn't do that anyway, but this does not seal, and I don't understand. I've taken it apart, I've put it back together, I've taken it apart, I've put it back together. So if anybody out there knows a quick easy fix or something, please let me know. It's doing my head in.
So this is the bike you did the rewiring on?
Yeah, rewired it all. Starts, runs fine, runs lovely. Guy's ridden it around for us, who's got 3 of these. Said it's lovely. Engine's good and strong, but it just makes a horrible noise when it's running.
What sort of noise?
Rumbling bearing noise. I'll explain a bit more when we get into it. So what it's doing is, start it up, runs fine, just makes horrible rumbling noise, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
When you pull the clutch in, the noise goes.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll strip this side out and you can have a look and see what I mean. Engine's crank's turning all the time. Okay, so that's irrelevant whether you pull the clutch in or not. So you can pretty much donate that it's not the crankshaft making a noise, yeah?
Yeah.
The drive cogs between there and the clutch basket, they were dirty, so I cleaned them. But again, pull the clutch in, no noise. Now if you when the clutch is out, that clutch basket is turning all the time. Yeah?
Yeah.
Pull the clutch in, that clutch basket is still turning all the time. But the main shaft in the gearbox stops moving when you pull the clutch in.
Yeah.
So my theory is it's got a main shaft bearing gone on the gearbox side. Right, drain the oil out of her. Still gonna get oil everywhere as per usual. You look at that, that's fresh oil that was put in it. No metal particles in there or anything like that. So I don't think it's a tooth grinding problem. I think it's just one of the main bearings is shot.
What would be best case scenario?
Just the bearing gone. It's just pull the engine apart, a gasket set, change the bearing, put it back together.
Yeah.
I'll get a pair of grips for that. You get 2 strokes where you pre-mix it in the tank,
yeah,
or you get that there is your 2-stroke oil tank, and it's an automatic feed called an auto lube. It's driven off the cam as such, or front of the cam crankshaft, sorry. Clean burn on that. Can't hear, it's a very sort of loud, grumbly, groaning noise, isn't it? Strange. The biggest fear doing something like this is not finding anything.
Oh, I can imagine.
And then you put it back together and it still makes the same bloody noise.
Yeah.
But it's got to be something in there that's... You imagine stripping the whole engine, you will find something, because it is making a horrible noise. See, it could be a crank bearing or something. I don't think it is, but just with when the load comes off the clutch, but I really don't think it's that at all.
What's the worst case scenario?
On one of these, very worst case scenario is the crank's knackered. So that's expensive. So basically, you got gears in there, but those run off the nose of the crankshaft, which is turning continuously, yeah? So the clutch, putting the clutch in won't make any difference at all on these. No. So that's, you can eradicate that one. That's your clutch hub there. There's no in and out on it, okay, which is good. That's your drive cog there, which I've taken off and thoroughly cleaned. But by pulling the clutch in, that won't, because that is constant drive to that clutch basket, the outer clutch basket.
Yeah.
Right, kicking it over, drives through your gearbox and drives that outer clutch basket, yeah? Yeah. So that turns that, look. In turn, turns that. That's just a kickstarter. Once it's started, that's your drive. Yeah. So that is driving the outer clutch basket, yeah? So that's when it's making a noise. If you pull the clutch in, okay, so that, in theory, is back to front. Okay, so I can turn that now. So that, when it's running, is still driving that outer clutch basket, but the centre main shaft isn't turning. Right. Okay, so the noise goes away. So train of thought is, you'd imagine it's something on that shaft through the gearbox that's making the noise. So you've got to pull the clutch apart anyway. I couldn't hear any noise. There's a needle roller bearing in there, which I couldn't hear anything making a noise on at all, which inherently says it's further inside the engine. Yeah. Let's pop the clutch out. The outer basket and the outer clutch cover can only go on one way, so you can't mess that up. Right, so that only goes on one way. You've got a mark there, look. A mark there. So that can only physically go on one way. Yeah. All your clutch plates out. What we'll probably do is put a set of clutch plates in it when we put it back together as well, just for good measure, you know, because it was a bit hard to adjust up. But again, that won't make any untoward noises. Right, that is your clutch push rod. So when you pull that lever, it pushes that out. Okay. Yep. That physically doesn't turn. The only bit that turns is that bit. It's got a ball bearing in there and then a push rod. Yeah. So that won't make a noise. It's not that. I wouldn't have said. There's a bit of a chafe on there, but nothing to worry about. Bearing wise, that's actually quite noisy. Wouldn't really expect to hear that, you know. So what we'll do is pop the main drive cog off, pop the clutch basket off, and then we can start feeling around, you know, listening to what's making a noise and what isn't.
But putting the clutch in, would that make any difference to that bearing?
Possibly. I don't. This is it, because it's all under load. Once the load's off, it might be dragging the main shaft that way. I don't know, because if it isn't shimmed up correctly, when you get it, I mean, I've got to take the whole engine apart and strip it. You might find on the inside there's a bit of marking, a witness mark or something. I don't know. Right, that's your rev counter and oil pump drive out of the way. Right, so you've got a thrust bearing there, got a thrust washer there. I've measured all of these, they're all correct. Yeah. And you've got a shaft there. You've got another shim washer there. And you've got a needle roller in there.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Could possibly be that, but it's the fact that the noise goes away and that is spinning constantly. Yeah. The fact that the noise goes away when you pull the clutch in kind of says that it isn't that roller bearing, because that's continuously turning. So, I know it's all pulled up on the thrust washers when you do that nut up on the end, but I would say that is wrong to have that much play in it.
Yeah.
I'd say there's shimming wrong somewhere inside there. I don't 100% know, I'll have to look.
How much play is that, do you reckon?
70, 80 thou. Quite a lot. But it all pulls that way when you put the thrust washers in and the clutch outer basket on.
Yeah.
But what I want to do now is get that one off, put the outer basket back on, and then feel what it feels like rotating again. I can't feel any rock on there. Let's turn that air off, mate. Right, I can hear it now. So with that shaft pushed in, you're going to get the normal gearbox noise of the teeth clacking together. There's nothing you can do about that. If you pull that out, much louder, hear it? Pull it out, much louder.
What would be the telltale signs on the inside when you open it up? Would there be any markings?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Again, that is reasonably noisy, that. Yeah, that's just too noisy. Right, so that bearing there is like 12 quid or something.
Yeah.
So we might as well replace that. I think the other thing that can go on them is the rivets go. But this is all pretty tight. I don't think it's that at all. Check the gearbox shimming. But see, if it is that noisy, it makes absolutely no sense at all as to why it would go away when you pull the clutch. No sense whatsoever. Because the whole lot's turning continuously when the engine's running and the noise is there. You pull the clutch and the noise goes away. I can't see, yes, it is taking load off of it that way, but if it should have end float on here when all that's shimmed up, that could possibly do it, but I can't see it. Now when the clutch is engaged and it's all in there, that and that are turning as one unit, aren't they?
Yeah.
So that needle roller isn't going to make any difference at all, is it? No. That would make a noise if you pulled the clutch in, because then that's spinning free of the main shaft. So that isn't the right way round, is it? Because when that's locked up and the clutch is on, that's spinning as a unit, isn't it? There's no movement on that bearing at all.
No.
Pull the clutch in, then you get movement.
Yeah.
So it's not that then. Can't be, can it? So it's internal. You can put a new bearing in it and try it again, but to be honest with you, I think you're just wasting your time.
Yeah.
Because that, in logical train of thought, that's locked up as a unit. That shaft and that are moving as one unit, so that bearing isn't doing anything.
Yeah.
That bearing's redundant until you pull the clutch in, and that's when the noise goes away. Which, again, donates something, in my mind, wrong there. Logical train of thought is what I'm trying to explain to you or people watching or whatever, is the way that works. It's got to be something internal in my mind. So like I say, when that's all locked up, that's turning as a unit, a complete unit. That needle roller bearing, which is the only bearing that's in there, isn't turning. When you pull the clutch, that bearing is turning and the noise goes away.
Yeah, it's got to be something in there that's it's independent when you pull the clutch.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've looked. The only marks I could see were here. See that witness mark there? It's my word of the day. We watched it on a video yesterday. Witness mark. That's been hitting that. He's hitting that though. Right, well that might be. I wouldn't have thought that oil seal would make that sort of noise though.
And that would push free of that when you pulled the clutch, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. See, that side's flush. That side's out. I'll be very surprised if that is what's making a noise, but it's definitely worth a try.
Well, there's a witness mark to it.
Hey, word of the day. Okay.
So how would you go about that?
All you can do is try and tap it in, because these seals go in. You sort of should assemble it all as one unit. But all we can do is tap that in if we can. These aren't oil seals as such; they're air seals.
Yeah.
Because it's a two-stroke. All your compression, not firing compression, lower crankcase compression is where all the mixture goes. So as the piston comes down, compresses the mixture in the crankcase, and then puts it up through to what they call transfer ports,
Right.
into the top of the engine for it to fire. So fuel goes in through the carburetor, goes down into the crankcase, gets compressed, goes up through the transfer ports into the top, and then ignites. So your auto lube feeds oil straight into the crankcase.
Yeah.
Petrol mixture goes in, atomises with it, bang, up to the top of the engine. So these you've got to be very careful with them. If you just start hitting them, you'll f them up. That's the technical term.
I haven't come across that phrase before, so.
Not down here, never.
Yeah.
So that's going to unfortunately take a bit of time, because I've got to think about that a bit. I just don't want to smack it in. If you put,
No, it's
if you put a dent in this,
yeah.
because it's rubber encased metal, once you've dented that, it's
Yeah.
f***ed, and you've got to take. Well, you might be able to change them. I'd have to look online, but let's make something to fit that properly so we can just tap her in. It sounded a lot noisier than that to me, but they're funny things, because you've got a hollow crankcase, it rubbing on it
Yeah.
could make that kind of weird noise. And then, as you said, clutch pulled in, freeing off of that. Yeah. Hey, I'm going to be a mechanic out of you yet.
I wouldn't go that far.